Are you looking to do deals and master flipping houses? Welcome to the Do Deals Show with our host, Mr. Tim Mai. As a successful investor and mentor to many real estate investors, Tim's students consistently run 6- and 7-figure investing businesses. Each week, you'll hear from top real estate investors who share the best strategies, systems, and secrets that you can use to be more successful. Tim and his guests will pull back the curtain for you to learn their exact tactics, tricks, and tools that are working best right now in today's real estate market. Now, let's welcome Mr. Tim Mai.
We are live on Facebook. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this interview. Mark, welcome, buddy.
Tim Mai, how are you?
Doing great. Today, I have Mark Podolsky on the line with us. Mark is the land geek. He has done tons, over 5,000 transactions of land since 2001. He does about a deal a day. Can you believe that? He's going to share with us today. Mark, you're going to share with us what is the best passive income model and why it's the best, right?
Right. Okay, so the best passive income model to me is the way that I buy and sell raw land. So I'm going to walk you through the scenario, and then you can tell me, Tim, if you know something better. Look, I'm flexible like a yogi. I'm open to it.
Hold on real quick before you go in, so that way people know like why you're moving.
Oh yeah. I'm on a treadmill desk. Sitting's the new smoking. I take it very seriously.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So I hope this isn't too distracting for the Facebook Live people. But essentially, okay, so Tim's in Houston, right? And so what I'll do is, let's say that I'll get a list of people that owe back taxes in a county in Arizona. And all of a sudden I see Tim owns this property in Arizona. Let's say it's 5 acres, and he owes back taxes on it. And what I'll do is I'll send him a quote unquote top dollar offer, 20 to 30 cents on the dollar. Now, how do I come up with that offer, right? Because I'm not like typical house guys where I say, hey, I'm interested in buying your house, right? I'm actually sending a real live offer, a take it or leave it type offer. So I don't want to be in the appraisal business, right? So I really am efficient with my time. So 3 to 5% of people will accept our top dollar offer. Now, if it's under 3%, we know we came in too low for the market. If it's over 5%, it's like, we're probably too high, right? So we really have our metrics down. But Tim sees this. He's been getting notices for months from the treasurer. Pay your taxes. You're going to lose it to tax deed auction or tax lien auction, right? So he's like, okay, I'll take Mark's offer. So we do our due diligence. We close on the deal. And the way we price that, by the way, is we look at the comps. And what we do is the Warren Buffett way of getting a margin of safety of 300%. So all we do is divide by 4. So if the comps are $10,000, we'll divide by 4. The most we want to pay for that property is $2,500, right? Including back taxes. So now we've got this massive margin of safety. So then we buy the property, and in real estate, we make our money on the buy. So in our example, let's say I buy it from you for $2,500. You're happy. I pay the back taxes, and now I resell it. And Tim, guess where the best place is to sell that property?
Is it eBay or Craigslist?
No.
No?
No. We have a built-in best buyer. It's the neighbor. The neighbor, right? So the neighbors, we send them a letter saying, hey, look, before we go to the open market here's an opportunity to protect your view or, know who your neighbor's going to be. Like that fear of like, oh, wait, who's gonna buy a property next to me? Maybe they're going to go vertical. Maybe they're going to ruin my view. Maybe they're jerky. I'll buy it, right? Now, sometimes the neighbors pass. They're like, oh, I'll sell you my property. Now you got an even larger tract to sell. Better, right? So then we sell it. If the neighbors pass, the next place we want to go is our buyer's list, because ultimately that's the only thing we actually own. So we'll send out an email deal of the week. If those people pass, then we go to a little website called Craigslist, an even smaller website called Facebook buy-sell groups. And we can go to landandfarm.com, landsofamerica.com, landflip.com, landhub.com. There's a million of them, right? So it's a massive market. We want to go where people are looking for raw land, right?
So why is this the best passive income model compared to all the other real estate, rental properties, apartments, all of that?
Right, because the asset in and of itself lends itself for passive income. So what we'll do in our scenario, right, is we'll get a down payment of $2,500, and then we will finance the $10,000 purchase price on easy owner financing terms. Let's say a car payment, let's say $349 a month at 12.9% interest. So it's this one-time sale. I get this recurring passive income, but Tim, I'm not getting that call at 2 a.m. that the roof is leaking. So I've got no renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I don't have to worry about Dodd-Frank. I'm exempt from the RESPA, and I'm exempt from the SAFE Act. So because of that, and because there's no competition, you don't go on HGTV or the DIY network and see flip this land, right? All we do is shuffling paper and making money. 90% of the business can be automated with software like what we do. And it's a totally systematized, geeky type of way of doing real estate.
Right. That's awesome. So just so that way I'm clear. So the land is worth 10,000. You negotiate. You bought it for no more than 2,500.
Correct.
You sold it for 10,000 with $2,500 down. So basically, you got your money back. So you're in the deal with no money now at this point.
Right.
And then you're gonna make this monthly income for how long? How long?
Let's say 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah, at let's say $349 a month.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
And we automate it with software. So we get their ACH, we get their credit card. If one fails, automatically charges the other one. And it's amazing, right? And so, once you have enough of these notes, like I've got clients who are 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 40,000 a month, right? Once your passive income exceeds your fixed expenses, you're working because you want to, not because you have to. And that's really the goal, is what I call getting out of solo economic dependency, which means if you're not working, you're not making any money, right? So a lot of my clients are doctors and lawyers and engineers and software engineers because, they realize, hey, I'm only getting paid when, my hands are in somebody's, body in the OR or someone's mouth, their dentist, right? Or they're writing code. And so this is a way of having that extra, it's what I call the ultimate side hustle or the ultimate subscription model.
Gotcha. Perfect. All right. We're going to get off of Facebook now. That's a teaser for you there on Facebook. But if you like this so far already, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends. Keep an eye out for when we post the entire interview. So with that, happy investing. We'll see you later. All right, Mark. Let's expand on that. So what, it sounds great. Why isn't this model more popular than it is? Like, I mean, I've only known like 3 guys that do what you teach. It's
not sexy, right? And really, it's really like I would call it a recency bias, right? So if you've just read a book by Robert Kiyosaki about how he flips houses, you're thinking about that. If you just went on HGTV or the DIY network and you see they're flipping houses, you're thinking about that, right? So there's no one that's actually talking about flipping raw land because it is not a sexy niche, right? And so that in of itself makes it very small. So like I always say, like if you go to a RIA meeting and there's 100 people in the room, 99 of them are going to be house flippers or wholesalers. You and I would be the only land guys, right? And we got a massive market and no competition. So it's just not, it's not sexy. And the argument could be, well, look, nobody needs a piece of raw land. Absolutely, right? We all need a place to live, but nobody needs a piece of raw land. That being said, 99.9% of the things in our lives, we don't need, right? So that's why the marketing is so important in this business. But I've been doing this since 2001. There is a lust for land in this country. There are military that love land. Preppers, these are people that are, hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. They want someone to bug out to. We've got land investors. I got a guy, he's a CEO in San Diego. He spends $5,000 a month with me. He just wants to show that he's building his net worth on his balance sheet, keeps buying up raw land. He's never even going to see it. I call it man jewelry. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome. I love that. How did you take us back? Take us back. How did you get started in this business, and how did you decide that, hey, land is for me?
Okay, so I was a very unhappy investment banker. Very unhappy. I worked with private equity groups, mergers and acquisitions, 5 million to 500 million, mid-market stuff, and micromanaged at a 45-minute commute to work and back, high pressure, not a lot of control. I hated it. So one day my firm hires this guy, and he's telling me that he's going to tax deed auctions, and he's buying up property for nothing, and he's flipping it online, and he's making a 300% return on his investment. Well, Tim, I'm from St. Louis. I'm from the show me state, Missouri. I don't believe him, right? Because I look at companies all day long, and a great company has over 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Great company. Your average company is at 10%. I'm looking at companies all day long, less than 10%. This guy's saying 300%. So I go to New Mexico. I got like $3,000 saved up for car repairs, and I do exactly what he says. I buy 10 half-acre parcels at an average price of $300 each. Put them up online. Sure enough, they sell at an average price of $1,200 cash each. So I take all that money. I go to another auction in Arizona, and there's no one in the room. This is in 2000. So I buy up all that property that I can, and over the next 6 months, I made over $90,000 just on that one auction. So I go to my wife and I say, honey, I'm ready to quit my job and invest in land full time. She says, absolutely not. So I said, all right, fine. So I worked my investment banking job full time. And then at nights and the weekends, I did land part time for 18 months until the land investing income exceeded my investment banking job. And then I quit in 2001. I've been doing it full time ever since. And I love it.
Wow, that's awesome. Doing a deal a day is a lot of deals, right?
Yeah, but it's automated, it's scalable because I don't actually have to physically go out and see the property, right? So we crowdsource our due diligence. We have somebody in the Philippines doing the title reports, getting us the GIS maps, getting us the Google Earth maps, getting us the four corners GPS coordinates for a buyer, and it all goes into our software. And then we have somebody go out like a local Craigslist gig for $50, have them stomp on the land and fill out our property report. So they're telling us, what are the neighbors like? What's the road like? What's compelling about the property? How far from the nearest Walmart and services, right? They're shooting pictures, they're shooting video. And there's this great app, Tim, called What 3 Words? They've addressed the entire world. So I know if that person that's going out to look at our land is even close, right? So they can't pull one out on me. I'm like, download this app, and then we're going to confirm that you're actually at the right area, because then we can cross-check the GPS coordinates. So then they do all that, and then we sell our property 30 days or less.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so I love the idea of selling to the neighbors. It's so true. I met this gentleman that did something similar, a little bit different from you. The way he does it is a little bit different. But what he does is he goes to, like here in Houston, he goes to the outside of the city limits, and where those land, there's no like deed restriction. You can put whatever you want to put on those land. And he would find these residential lots that have others, neighbors around it. And he would buy it, real cheap. And he goes to the neighbor and try to sell it to them for like a lot more. And if they say no, he would put a trailer or something like that's like ugly on the property, where it becomes an eyesore for the neighbors, and then you kind of force the neighbor to buy it from him.
Oh my God. Okay, now I don't do that. And I wouldn't recommend someone do, upsetting the neighbors, but like if it works, I guess, I'm not going to judge.
Right. But I mean, he shared with me his margin, and it's crazy amount.
Oh, our margins are ridiculous. Like it's literally on terms, it's 800 to 1,000%, in cash 300 to 500%. I mean, it's nutty. It's not even the realm of the real world.
Right. That's awesome. Now, you mentioned how you got started with very little money. So apparently it doesn't take very much to do this. How little do you need to get this going?
I have clients that have no money, and what they'll do is they'll tie up the deal, right? And they can wholesale it out to guys like me, or what's even better, Tim, is they'll tie up the deal, they'll extend out their due diligence, and sure enough, they'll send out those neighbor letters, right? The neighbors will then buy the property, they'll do a dual closing, infinite ROI, so they're not using any of their own money, they're just sending out letters. So if they can afford a stamp, right, they can do this business. I mean, I've got a buddy, Duran Frazier. He started with $800, multimillionaire. I started with $3,000. Money's not the issue in this business. It's will you work the system?
Right, right. I love that, and I love how you created software and everything. Do you offer those software for sale for people to be able to buy into and use the same system that you do?
Yes and no. I mean, we have a coaching program, and so typically what we'll do is we'll train you first, and then we include the software. But to have the software out in the open market, I think is sort of not the best thing for my community, because it makes it a little too easy in a way, and it can actually end up being harmful, I think, to the overall market. But yeah, for our people, we absolutely do offer it.
That's awesome. And I mean, I think that the reason why your system works so well is because of all of the technology and the system that you built around it. I was talking to another guy that does very similar to what you do, but he does it all manually, and his turnover rate from his borrowers, right, the buyers, is super high. I mean, like half of his buyers, will default on the loan within, I forgot how many months, right? But it's like super high. So can you speak into that? Like how you're able to get your turnover rate to be so low and get these buyers, continue paying and continue, owning these land.
Right. So the strategy is a two-part system. The first part is that we get two forms of payment, and so it's a set it and forget it system with our software. And so via ACH, which is their checking account, that's the first form of payment. And the second one is a backup, which is their credit card, right? So if the ACH should fail, then they'll automatically charge the credit card on file, right? So that's the first way, is we really get two forms of this payment. The second thing is every single month, we're reinforcing to them that they made a good investment. Hey, congratulations, land's the only thing that lasts. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to protect it. And oh, by the way, thank you so much for being the kind of person that honors their commitments. We really appreciate you. And when we say that, they really want to be the kind of person that honors their commitments. They don't want to let us down. And, we have a promissory note, we have a purchase sale agreement, and we have a land sale contract. So the underlying asset remains with me until they pay off their note. So if they do default, well, I keep all the money, and then I just simply resell that property without any costs of foreclosure.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good. So how does do you just evict them? Is that well, you can't. They don't even live there.
Yeah.
So
again,
what is
we're
the
not doing
payment work?
No rehab. So it's so the way my contract reads is if you're 30 days late, you have 35 days to cure, right? On that 36th day, you lose all your money, and we just resell the property. That's it. There's nothing else to do.
So is there any kind of like notice that you have to send out?
Yeah, I mean, you just do a notice per the contract. So typically, I'll email them and then send a certified letter.
Gotcha.
And then we automate that with our software as well.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Is there any state that this doesn't work in because of that state's law on land contract or anything like that?
So Texas and Florida have laws against contract for sale or land contracts. That being said, we have a geeky sort of way around it so that we can still do it and still be within the law. We spent a lot of money with attorneys in both states to kind of walk us through that step.
Okay, so those are the only.
So to answer your question, we can do this in every state.
All right. Have you tried to do this overseas, like in other countries, or have students that?
I have international students that buy U.S. land, but I'm not comfortable buying land in other countries. First of all, there's so much here. Like, why would I go outside the U.S.? But there's so much government risk, and I don't know, I don't want to play that game.
Right. Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds good. So what are the possible risks in this?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest risk is not doing your due diligence correctly, right? So if you buy a piece of property, for example, that's like there's a county in Nevada, Churchill County, the Air Force goes out there and they bomb out there. If you have an environmental factor, if you go to EPA.gov and you buy at a Superfund site, that's on you. That's a big, big risk. I think the other risk is just in typical real estate, overpaying, right? So if you don't do your pricing correctly from day one, that's another risk. But I can tell you story after story, especially when I first started, like you are not the market. Just because you think the property is ugly doesn't mean that someone else doesn't love that property. So I always say there's a pig for every barn. And I learned this the hard way, right? I had a buddy, he's in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. I mean, this property looked like Chernobyl. It was so ugly. And he's buying this stuff for like $50. And he's like, Mark, do you want to split this deal with me?
50
And
bucks.
yeah. And I'm like, no way, man. I'm like, you know what? This is just a problem. I mean, the buyer's going to go out there, going to look at the property, and you're going to have a headache. It's going to be refund, refund, refund. He's like, well, I don't know. He's like, $50. He's like, So sure enough, he starts selling the property, and he's making like, 2,000%, right? And he's emailing me the sale after sale. So I email him back, refund, right? He emails me another sale. So I email him back, refund/lawsuit, right? To make myself feel better. This goes on for months after months. Guess how many refunds he had?
0.
It's 0. So now I'm not a land snob. And, if there's a market, there's a market. And, it's crazy. But I had to watch myself lose $100,000 to learn that the hard way.
What do you mean by losing 100 grand in?
Well, he made $200,000 and I could have split it.
Ah, okay. That's a good lesson to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. All right, cool. So what if someone wants to get started today in doing this? Like, what do you recommend them to do first?
I mean, the first thing they have to do is really get educated and learn, in depth how to do this. So, and there's so much information out there, Tim, right? You can go to my site, you can go to landgeek.com, you can go on YouTube. It's just so much out there. You can go in bigger pockets, right? But get educated and start creating a system for yourself, right? And that's how I would suggest it. Absolutely. Get a county list, price it, start sending out your offers.
How do you decide which county to go after, or which state or city to go after?
So my criteria is really simple. Number one is, nobody wakes up, Tim, and says to themselves, boy, I'd really like to buy a piece of raw land today in Wisconsin, right? Unless you live in Wisconsin. But California, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Florida, right? If you live in New York or you live in the Midwest or you live somewhere like that, right? There's tons of raw land out there. It's super inexpensive, it's affordable, and it's sunny for the most part, right? So I look for those areas only. The Southwest, California, and Florida, right? And then from there, I want to make sure there's a market, right? I want to know definitively that deals are being done there, right? I don't want to be a trailblazer. If I can't see that there's a market, I can't see that there's any comps, I won't buy there, right?
So where you getting these comps? How do you find out?
I just call the county assessor, or, depending on the county. So counties are either digitally online or they're not. If they're not online, then, we have like a fancy hands VA and we give them their system that get the comps, and then they give us the Excel spreadsheet and we do it that way. Or, we have them go online and do it.
So you're using based off of tax assessed value.
No. On actual recent sales, right? Now, if I can't see any comparable sales, that's a red flag, right? Now, a quick and dirty way is you could take the assessed value and divide by 4, but that'd be super, super low.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess in some of these areas, it is easy enough to find comps for them for these.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure how much activities there are with this land, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. One of the questions I didn't ask you for the audience sake is are these lands developed? Do they have utilities?
Raw land.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
That's going to be more inexpensive than something that's, been developed, has utility, it's infrastructure. That's not to say that this model wouldn't work, but, if let's say that you wanted to go big, right? Like, well, I got $1 million to deploy and I want to start buying ranches for $1 million. The odds of you getting a ranch for 20 to 30 cents on the dollar are really small, right? They're not as distressed and they're more emotionally attached than a seller that lives out of state, owes back taxes, has no emotional attachment to that property.
Right. So what about like their usage? I know some people, like you mentioned, they just own it. They like the idea of the owning land. What are there other usage for these land other than just the pride of ownership?
It's only limited by your imagination. I've got some people that go out there camping, they get their RVs out there, they ride quads, they hunt, they fish, they fly their drones out there, they party out there, they make their own little Burning Man. It's literally only limited by their imagination. I had somebody that was like, Mark, I want swampland in Florida. I'm like, you want swampland in Florida? Like, yeah, you can grow shiitake mushrooms on it. Shiitake mushrooms. I had somebody from France buy some of the ugliest property I've ever owned in Arizona because he wanted to grow olive trees out there. And what he was going to do was start selling olive oil. And so that's what he did. So it's really only limited by your imagination.
That is so interesting. All right, Mark. I'm sure the listeners by now are like dying to find out how they can get a hold of you, get in touch with you, learn more from you, get access to your system. Where would you like to send them?
I think the best place to go is thelandgeek.com. And then we have a current podcast, Art of Passive Income Model. We have the Best Passive Income Model podcast. And then if you join the membership site for free, you get all the archived Land Geek podcasts, which is like over 100 of them, all devoted to just land investing. So again, I don't want people drinking from a fire hose. It's a lot of information, but it'll definitely get them enough information where they can make a informed decision if it's for them or not.
Gotcha. All right, awesome. Okay, any last tools or resources that you'd like to share with everybody?
I'm so geeky, Tim. I don't even know where to begin. What do you want? What do you want? You want automation? You want marketing?
Whatever's best for someone starting out in this business.
Okay, for somebody starting out in the business, the first tool, I'd get Zapier, Zapier.com, and I would start creating automation. Because look, Tim, we can always make more money. We can't get more time. So anything I can automate, I'll do. Anything I can save time with, I'll do. So I would say, obviously the first thing you want to do is get educated. But once you get educated, then I would start thinking about automation, systems, processes, and really start thinking like an entrepreneur, right? I work 2 hours a week in Frontier Properties, the land investing business. And the only way I can do that is with systems and automation, right? Again, we want to get out of sole economic dependency, where it's just a machine and it's just creating passive income every single day. I think there's a lot better things to do in life than, chase around land deals.
Right. Real quick question. Which is the harder part of this business? Is it finding enough land to buy or finding enough buyers for those land?
It depends how you grew up, right? So like my dad was a wholesale grocer and I grew up hearing how to get a deal, right? So I'm really comfortable getting a great deal. I have no problem. I'll go to Nordstrom, like, you want to throw in a pair of socks, right? I'll negotiate with anybody, right? Because I'm comfortable with it, right? Some people aren't comfortable with it and they have to learn and they have to embrace the suck, and they have to get their reps in and practice being a deal junkie and feeling good about acquiring an asset 20, 30 cents on the dollar. Then there's other people that are really comfortable with that, but then they've never sold anything in their entire life. They've never written a headline. They've never done marketing, right? They're uncomfortable with that, right? So typically what we find is some people lean towards one or the other. Very few people, sort of are comfortable with both, unless they're coming from, maybe more of a real estate background where they've gotten their reps in at some point in life, right? So that's where the training comes in, the reps come in, scripts come in, and just going through it again and again and again until it becomes integrated and sort of second nature, and you're comfortable with both aspects of the business. But I always keep a thing of M&Ms on the desk to remind me, the only thing that makes money in this business is mailing and marketing. That's it. Everything else is ancillary.
I love that. I love that. All right, Mark. Well, thank you so much, buddy, for this awesome interview. I got a ton of value out of this. Love your energy. Love you like walking on the treadmill. I love everything you shared today, buddy.
Thanks, Tim. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, everybody, if you gotten tons of value out of this like I have, make sure you like this interview, give us feedback, rate us, reach out to Mark, and learn more from him. And with that, happy investing, and we'll see you at the next interview. All right, see you.
And that's our show for today. If you have any questions or would like to get further training from Tim Mai, please visit our website at www.dodeals.com/Tim.